Okay, greetings and welcome. I am doing another Tarot Tuesday. I've not given up on these, but I want to mute my notifications. I realize I should have done that before I hit play, and I might even. Okay, Do Not Disturb is on. Welcome to another Tarot Tuesday. I'm doing this on my bed, and I'm due for a new bed. This one's about 17 years old. Yikes. And it was guaranteed to 15 years. And it's held up reasonably well. Although in 2014, I did need to add I believe it's 4 inches, 4 inch memory foam, which has pretty rapidly, why am I going off on a tangent like this? Okay, the reason I am is because I intended this to be a combo Vloggy, chit-chat, and tarot reading. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the tote deck, but this is the back. And it's a beautiful design. I really like this one. It's pretty much the only deck I work with, although, as I mentioned in one of my previous ones, of the two that I've managed to do so far, that I've started working or trying to get familiar with a new deck, which is kind of a big deal for me because these were given to me in 1986. And I've worked exclusively with them since then, just getting familiar with these guys. We have a really good long-standing relationship. Since I'm also a chaos or a chaos magician, this could be considered an egregore, which is a metaphysical concept that sometimes is also applied to physical objects, wherein a lot of attention and energy has been put into it over the years such that it could almost be considered a living thing in and of itself. So that's my egregore, or one of them, but that's one of the most significant ones in my life at the time of this filming, which is during the coronavirus pandemic of 2020. Peace and love to y'all. So if any of you who are watching this are either going through it or have gone through it, I hope you are finding succor in some way and that you're finding love and healing in some way. It's going to be a long road because this kind of a wounding is really deep. But it's the kind of wound that we're having like a social bloodletting right now. And it's a necessary wounding to bleed out all the toxic societal ills that we've held onto for so long. And it's very painful. But I personally see it as needful. I'm sorry it had to come to this. I think everybody's sorry that it's had to come to this, but we're seeing change. And so for those of you who are actively fighting in the streets and taking the brunt of it for all the rest of us, thank you so much. A sincere peace and love to you all this time. Because this is what we need as a society, to change this. I'm old enough to have seen it going on since the 70s, the early 70s with the Black Panthers. I grew up in a town that was very white, but I had the privilege of living next door for a time to a lovely Black family. And for a time, my best friend was the girl who was just about my age. I think there was maybe 6 or 7 months between us in age, so we're the same age. I always felt younger than people because I was always half their size. I was really tiny. But her name was Alicia. That was her given name. That wasn't what she went by. I'm not going to give more detail. And we were really good friends for quite a while, and I really enjoyed her. And I hope wherever she is in her journey that she is doing well on whatever path that might be. Oh, by the way, I'm as a chaos magician, and this isn't necessarily when I refer to myself as a chaos magician. I come by it dishonestly, which is why I use the term chaos. And there are a lot of us out there. It's not the disciplined Liber Null scholar style of chaos magician. It's the I've grabbed a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of that and put it together into a system that works for me personally. And when I reach a stumbling block and need to research something more, I then research that thing more so I can understand it better. But there is a lot of let's throw it at the wall and see what sticks that goes on. So I'm learning as I go, and I'm making mistakes as I go, and I learn by my mistakes. That's how I do my everything in life. That's just my style. It's just my jam. And it's not going to change because I like it like that. That's just how I roll. So yeah. So okay, so what I was going to say before I went into that aside is I have what I think of as my own personal singularity, which is the moment at which science meets that perfect point of metaphysics, where suddenly the unseen is proven real by science. So far, they're, where they finally have scientific evidence of God or spirit or the things that I've experienced ever since I came into this life are real and not of my imagination. Things that I've since come to know as not only physical vibrations, but things that I see okay, I had to take a slight break there just due to my camera freezing up on me. I'm just using a built-in camera. In any event, I feel like we're really close to reaching that point of science and metaphysics coming together and validating what those of us who are sensitives have been experiencing. As I'm very attuned to the world around me, and to other living things, plants and animals, and I mean, just everything that's alive can communicate and does. I'm not always able to get on the same wavelength so that the other being can receive my communication. So that's what I'm working on. But that's okay. So it's interesting. It's an interesting time to be alive. So one of the things that I wanted to do, since it's been just such an intense week, and I know I referred to the coronavirus pandemic already, but we're at the point, it's June 2020, so we're at the point in the pandemic where we're protesting in the streets. And when I say we, I mean it in the most general sense, because I personally am not protesting in the streets. I have a very hard time with my anxiety and putting my body in harm's way these days. Because I have a small body. I am not physically large, but my beingness forgets that very easily when I get emotionally caught up. And I know that the adrenaline and the anger and the righteousness that I would feel if I were to allow myself to go to a protest, I know for a fact that it would overwhelm me and that I would just get all up in people's faces. And it would be easy for just a normal sized person to just, well, maybe not so much right now because I'm carrying a little bit of extra weight, but I can easily be chucked across a room and sustain tremendous injury from that. It's happened before, more than once. So, you know. And since I'm disabled now due to the chronic pain from previous injuries that I've sustained from exactly that kind of action, not necessarily during a protest, but more of a domestic violence kind of a situation. Because I wouldn't just be the quiet little woman and shut up and, yeah. We're just going to leave that at that. I can put more detail into a future video. Because this one is still Tarot Tuesday, even though it's a vloggy vlog. So I've got my trusty, beautiful deck here. I had wrapped it back up since I had to take a bit of a break. I am going to do my favorite kind of reading right now, actually, which is a single card draw. It's really the most powerful. Whoopsie. And the whole aside thing that I was talking about, the freaking bed and the 4-inch memory foam and all that, and to do with the fact that you're probably going to see a little bit of jostling. And of course, I'll put stabilization filters in and what have you when I go to finalize it, but I'm not going to, I can't spend hours and hours and hours like making this all perfect. If I do that, my channel is just going to die because I'm never going to want to work on it. Because it's just, I did graphic design for 20 some odd years. And so I know how to do all that. I know how to make it all awesome and freaking fancy as fuck. But I'm not into that anymore. I mean, I kind of miss, I loved what I did, but when it had like deadlines and all that shit on there, it just stressed me out. And then inevitably that stress would just make things go wrong. It's just an energetic flow with tension on it. Things will just plain go wrong. So I haven't shuffled and I haven't cut. So that's what I'm doing now. I've got my laptop on a pillow in front of me just to kind of get a nice angle. I wanted to have a little bit of color behind me as opposed to just my headboard, which is kind of like a green-gray, kind of boring. So Listen to me shuffle. Ooh. This giant deck barely fits in my hand. Oops, there we go. So I can't do a standard shuffle. I did a corner shuffle. And just getting communication here. Just gonna do a single card. What's the message for the day? Oh, a couple of cards falling out the bottom. Okay, sending some messages ready. We'll do one more shuffle. Yeah, you don't want to come together. Okay, I hear you. Okay, so 3 cups to the left. Messages in the first. There are messages in all 3. Interesting. Okay, so there are messages in all 3 of these. I'm going to pull the first card off of the first stack. Oh, okay, so we have the 3 of discs, which is called discs. Which is called works. Blah. Let's see if I can put it up. Does it come in? There we go, get the glare. Works. And it is Mars in Capricorn. This is a really good card to get stuff done. So the ace of the card of the suit is the initiation of the energy, the initial manifestation of the energy into the plane of existence, but not yet made manifest into the physical. That is what happens with the 2. But the 2 gets it spinning. The 2 makes it manifest in the physical, but nothing is actually happening. For something to actually begin to happen in the physical world, we need a 3. That's one of the reasons why, I don't know if you've ever heard about the magic of 3, why 3 is such an important number, such a significant number. Actually, I should make a video about that. Note to self. So if you've found yourself especially productive today, Tuesday, June 9th, wherever you are in the world. Excuse me, I need to do a little thingy here. Sorry for the noise. Having tiny child-sized ear holes, nothing ever fits me right. You probably have felt focused and productive. Shit's getting done, and it's good. It's kind of interesting. I happen to have Mars in Capricorn in my chart. And I did check a few things off my list. I'm not feeling particularly productive today, personally. Okay, so now I have to go to the other decks, the other 2 cuttings, to see what do you want me to hear here. But I'm betting probably a lot of you really got shit done. I'm betting. And I'm gonna check out my little news sources. My main source of news is the Philip DeFranco show on YouTube. You should check it out. just jumped out of my hand. So we've got the 3 discs. What's here? Oh, goodness. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, Princess of Cups. I feel like this is a message for me. This is a message for me, but I'll share it with you. Okay, Princess of Cups. This is my daughter. I'm 100% sure. So she's going through a lot of changes at the moment. She's 18. She's an adult, but she still lives at home, and it's important to me that I give her the space at this moment in time of her personal development, to give her the space to kind of figure herself out. She's still just kind of getting her legs under her, if you know what I mean, as an adult, as a working adult, and going to community college and what have you, and seeing how the real world functions. You know, she's now an adult surrounded by other adults, and it's like, oh, she's finding that it's not quite as she expected it to be. And so at the moment, I've kind of become her life coach. And I'm happy to be so, because when I was 18, I moved out of the house. And I probably should not have. I probably should have waited a little bit. I should have waited to my early 20s. So I wasn't ready. I didn't know which end was up. I didn't know what I wanted. So I suspect that my personal productivity is going to come this evening when my daughter comes back home from work. Oh, really? Okay, so I pulled from the 3rd deck. Huh. Okay, sorry. I'm like zoning off into space, and I should just be keeping it flowing. This is the 7 of discs, and this is called failure. And this is, I don't know if you can see, it's Saturn in Taurus. I need to drink water. Some of the medications that I take for my pain either make me really phlegmy or make my mouth very, very dry. More info than you needed, but you got it anyway. So I wonder if this is talking about, okay, so obviously discs have to do with money. In the tote deck, the discs are equivalent to the pentacles in all the other decks. And it always has to do with money, or material things, your wealth, if you will. And I wonder if this is kind of talking about, see, I'm getting 2 different things. I was like, is this for me? This can't possibly be for me personally. No, I refuse to accept that. Please don't be for me. Well, if it is, I mean, I've dealt with it before, but I wonder if it also is talking about some of the things that are going on in American society at the moment with regard to structures that we're having to address and break down, and the associated budgets that are being addressed. I wonder. Certainly, maybe there's a feeling of failure. I am off my game today. That's okay. I say so casually. I did just put a lot of money into my car, significantly more money than the car's value. So, yeah, that was an owie. But I don't feel like that's a failure. I mean, I kind of see it as getting a new car for that amount of money. Cars are a waste of money. But living in the San Francisco metro area, public transportation is horrible. It's horrible. In California in general, where everything is so spread out, we have the worst public transit. So you have to have a car. And I was very fortunate that a couple of friends, about 4 years ago now, gave me a car. I had to tell you a little story about myself as a Vloggy blog. In 2005, I was doing graphic design for Ernst & Young, one of the big four accounting firms. And one of the perks was that you got the GM fleet discount, which is a sizable discount. And so I was shopping for a car. My car was very old and needed some help. And I bought this Pontiac. I had always liked the brand, and it was a G6, and it had just come out, and it had a fully retractable sunroof that like opened up the entire roof practically, and she drove like a dream. It was that perfect balance between it was like the ultimate sports sedan. It was perfect balance between sporty and comfort. And she was all black on black. I named her Boudica. V6. I mean, wow. An amazing stereo system. I drove and drove and drove her. I loved her so much. But then some major systems started to break down. Actually, the automatic transmission broke down on me. And this was a known issue, but GM didn't want to issue a recall. They issued a partial recall on a less expensive part that sometimes fixed it, but most of the time did not fix it. I had that part replaced, didn't fix it, couldn't afford to put the money into it to fix it myself. By this time, I wasn't with Ernst & Young anymore, and I had kind of given up on doing graphic design. I was in a different line of work. I was just kind of doing delivery driving. It was a lot easier on me stress-wise. But I still ended up driving a lot of miles. Driving without automatic transmission, man. I got some guns during that period, and that lasted the better part of a year. And finally, I had to just get rid of the car. All these other issues started coming through where the transmission could fail on you while you were driving the car. The ignition could fail. There were 5 different recalls got issued. And I just went, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And I just have to get rid of the car. By that time, they had stopped making Pontiacs. So my mom's like, well, I'm retired. I hardly ever drive anymore. You can have my car, and I'll take your car and donate it to this nonprofit that takes in cars and sells them and buys vets that have lost a limb. It buys them artificial limbs. I can't remember the name of the nonprofit, but they do good work and it's expensive work. So I was like, okay, great. So I took one final drive, white knuckling it the whole way out to the adjoining state to visit my mom. Got her car, drove it back, went to AAA and got it all oil change, like a full service, $180 full service on it. And that morning, I got all this service on it, and I was like, yay, all my problems are solved. Pick up my daughter from school, getting ready to get on the highway to get home, bam, rear-ended at 40 miles an hour. And yeah, so it ruined the trunk latch in such a way that it couldn't be repaired, which compromised the security alarm system in the car. So that couldn't be repaired. So it ended up being a total loss, but it couldn't really be. Insurances don't unless you pay hefty premiums, you don't really get a total loss replacement. I mean, Liberty Insurance, I'm going to bleep that out. I'm going to cut that out. I mentioned an insurance company, but insurance companies that say that they do that, it's super expensive on your premiums to have loss replacement. I couldn't afford that, so I didn't have that. And we both had whiplash. So the other driver was a 16-year-old girl. And she was like, I'm so sorry. She took full responsibility. So the insurances, we got paid. And some repairs were able to be made, but then there were other repairs that were not able to be made. Our medical bills were paid. I went to a chiropractor because I believed in chiropractic at the time. But then on one neck adjustment, I wasn't fully relaxed, and the doctor wasn't fully present. He was just kind of doing his spiel kind of thing. And he didn't let me breathe in and exhale before doing my neck. And he fucked up my neck really bad. Really, really bad. So now I have C4 and C5 herniated discs. So now I don't even trust chiropractic. That's a closed thing for me. So that's part of the reason why I have so much pain and part of the reason why I'm disabled now. Looping back into the present, and not completely to the present, because I do mention in an earlier video about my cancer troubles and how the surgery left me with some significant issues. That prevent me from living a happy and complete life. But the spinal issues are significant also. So I had to get a lawyer in order to get my disability benefits. And I finally, I had my hearing last October, and then in November I got my ruling that was fully favorable. But I didn't get, until like late January, I didn't get the notice of what my benefits would be. And I didn't start seeing payments until late February. And then there was all this back payment that was owed to me because the lawyer pushed really hard, and I'm grateful. They were like, the date of onset was the day she got the news, March of 2017, when she was diagnosed with cancer. And the administrative law judge agreed that that is when my disability benefits should be started. So there was a large back payment that I got. And so I've always been kind of like playing with poordom most of my life, being on the broke side, because I've never really wanted to be on the hamster wheel. I've just seen how other people live, and that's not for me. Being on the hamster wheel just so I can own a home, just so I can buy shit that I don't have the time or energy to enjoy. So I always have done it a little different. Anyway, so this wasn't like an astronomical amount of money by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a nice little check, and it was enough for me to get some really needed car repairs done. Because after my mom's car, that was now mine, got rear-ended and was taken in as a total loss by the insurance company, and I got a small payment from the insurance company. I used that as a down payment to buy a car through the Uber thing that they were doing, because I had driven, when I had Boudica for a while, I was an Uber driver, and I was pretty good at it. I stopped doing it when the power steering went out, because there's no way I could like be driving around the streets of San Francisco. It's like I needed to avoid all the little tight turns as much as possible. So I just physically, there's no way. But I had known about their auto purchase program and thought, okay, great. I can buy through them, and they would take like weekly payments out of my earnings. Well, so I bought a Prius, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. I got a Prius. I'm doing delivery now, but I do some Ubering and this and that. But when I looked at what the weekly payments were going to be, the numbers looked good initially, but then it turned out in order to like make my payments, I would have to work 11-hour days to make my payment and then to have anything left over. So the math just ended up not working out for me. And after having the car for, I don't know, a year and a half or whatever, I just let them repossess it. I said, fine, take it. Take it. It's yours. You can have it. Whatever. And so they sold it at auction, and we parted ways. And it was fine. And I had a little bit of cash. I bought a scooter, and that was fun. It was a Honda Elite. I'd had a Honda Elite in the past, and I just loved them. And the little oil light thingy came on. So I was like, oh gosh, I need to take it to a cycle shop and get the oil changed. So I took it to a cycle shop that was the highest rated on Yelp in my area. Oh, I love these guys. They're great. They're great. So I walk in and they're like, and I'm like, I just need an oil change. Oh, yeah, we can take care of that for you. I'm like, okay, well, how long do you think it would take? Oh, well, and they were kind of blowing me off. I'm like, okay, this is my main transportation. So how long do you think it would take? They had my car for a week. My scooter for a week. And I kept calling them. They're like, oh, yeah, we're working on it. Oh, yeah, we're working on it. They didn't give a shit. And then when they gave it back to me, it drove like shit. They messed it up. I don't know what they did. I don't know if they did anything. Maybe they stole parts off of it. I don't know what the hell they did. But it was awful. And so I was like, oh my God, they've ruined my scooter and they're the best shop in the area. Who else do I even go to try and correct this? I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. I don't have tools. I don't know scooters. I know cars better than I know scooters. So I was like, at this point, going, Jesus H. Christ. So I found another scooter on Craigslist, and in driving over to check it out on the scooter, something blew out, hit my leg, scooter died. I left it parked on the street, called a Lyft, went the rest of the way to the other place, ended up buying that scooter, driving it home. And yeah, I had that one for quite a while. Actually, I just recently got rid of it. And I got sick right around the time the registration was due on it. I never did. I never kept up with registration like an idiot. Never even crossed my mind. I needed to do a planned non-op because then the fees, they're like $10 or something like that. But I didn't even think about it. I just kept it parked. And so then just a couple weeks ago, I tried to sell it, and somebody asked me, does it have any like fees on it? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. So I go to the DMV site to look up like what the fees would be, and it was like $800 or something. Whoops. So there was this one guy who was really interested in it, and I was like, okay, look, this is how much. Before he came to like check it out, I'm like, it was cash only and it's this and that, and you're okay with the price? And he's like, yeah. So the night before, I looked it up on the DMV, and I was just like, oh my God, okay, dude. He lived like 2 hours away. And I said, okay, oops. I need to tell you, I just looked this up. Here's the info. Are you still interested? Because now I don't think I can even sell it to you, because this is when you try to register it, this is what you're going to be faced with. And it's not running right now. So maybe you just use it for parts. I don't know. And he wanted it anyway. And he was prepared to pay full price for it. He was like, I don't want to walk away without giving me anything. So he gave me like $100, which was pretty nice, considering that it was like $867, which for a scooter, really? I mean, and it's not, and there was like CHP fees on it, like penalty fees. And it was a 150cc scooter. It's only for around town. I can't even take it on the freeways. Why am I paying CHP assessments? That's ridiculous. But I mean, that's whatever. So then I was without a vehicle, and I was taking a bus, and some friends were getting rid of their SUV, and upgrading to a pickup truck because they had bought a house with a little bit of land attached to it, and they had gotten themselves some goats. And the husband was like going to the feed store and getting bales of hay and what have you, and the SUV just wasn't working. So, and they were like, it's not going to be worth anything at the dealership. Would you like the car? And I was blown away. But, you know, they originally lived here, but then moved out to the Midwest for a while and then moved back. So the car went through quite a few snowy winters during most of its life on salted roads and what have you. And they only did the minimum upkeep on the car, you know, like getting new tires and oil changes. It had never had the timing belt replaced. I pulled the Carfax report on it. So, I mean, unless they were taking it to shops that didn't do the reporting, it had never had any major service done. So I had planned all along, like when I get my big back payment, I'm going to put it in the car to get it nice and safe. Because my thing is, I've been driving the car now for a few years, and I know all of its little ticks, and I know the way it feels. And recently, I've been thinking the transmission feels a little different. What's going on? She's not sounding the same. So she needs some work. So last week, I took her to the dealer. They had her for an entire week. And I ended up spending more than twice what I was originally quoted because they kept calling me going, oh, there's this, oh, there's that. And I was like, yeah, okay, it's probably a good idea. And there was one more major service that they wanted to do. That was going to be another $1,200, almost $1,300, $1,250 or something. And I was like, I have to stop. I need the car back. Mostly because I wanted to feel the car myself, because the guy was being the service guy was, they sounded uncertain of their diagnostics. And I don't know if any of you have ever listened to the show Car Talk. But I listened to that show. I would go out of my way to listen to that show whenever I could. And I prided myself on being able to diagnose the problem that the callers would call in with. And I was almost always right. I would almost always come up with the same problem as click and clack. So, yeah. So I needed to feel the car to see for myself. And I think they actually might be right. I think I do need to take her back and have that work done. But, yeah. So maybe that is about me. It's a really long way of explaining this card. I don't know. But it's failure, though. I mean, failure. Could that really? I mean, maybe it feels like a failure because it's not a fun way of spending my money. Saturn and Taurus. Okay, I could see that because Saturn is discipline, and Taurus is sensuousness. Taurus wants to have fun with the money. And like, I want to buy wine and I want to have a bacchanalia. I want to feast with my friends and, you know, go on trips, although nobody's really going on trips right now, but, you know. Capricorn wants to be wise. I do have Venus and Mars in Capricorn, and I know how to take a penny and make it into $1 for the most part. I did buy myself an Apple Watch, and it's a new one. And I did buy myself a computer. This is a MacBook Air. It's a 2020 edition, but it's refurbished because I couldn't. I can't. Why do I need a brand new computer? What am I doing? I'm surfing the web and I'm making videos. It doesn't justify a brand new computer. And I don't need a MacBook Pro. Come on. It's just dumb. And after I'm finished spending all this money on the car, I need to find a dentist. This tooth is really moving. I've noticed it recently. It's not, you can really see how crooked it is. I've noticed it in recent videos, or like when I do my thumbnails. Super obvious. And in previous years, it was not that obvious. So it's twisting out. And my bite, I'm having problems with my bite. But I think I have a few caries. Apparently, you can't call them cavities because there are natural cavities that your teeth will have, and that doesn't necessarily mean that there's rot in there. It's filling caries. So I think I'm going to need some filling work, some filling and drilling and filling. And because of my neck injuries, sitting back in a chair with my jaw open for any length of time is going to be excruciating. So I'm not looking forward to that, but it needs to happen. Yeah. So, how are you? Wasn't much of a Terror Tuesday. It was really a lot more of a vloggy vlog, but yeah. I am going to try to get on some kind of schedule here, mostly because YouTube penalizes you if you don't. I'd like this to be a halfway successful channel. When I say halfway, fuck. I want lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people to watch my videos. I'm supposed to say all the words. Thumbs up this video, because it really helps me. Because the way it helps me is it shows that I am getting viewer engagement. When I'm getting viewer engagement, I show up in other people's recommended videos. If you subscribe to me, that also shows people like me, and I'm more likely to show up in other people's recommended videos. And if I have a good upload schedule, that shows that I'm constantly putting out fresh content, and that the YouTube algorithm will help me out by also putting me up a little bit higher in recommended videos. I want all those things. So if you have found any of this useful or helpful or interesting, if you like my personality, do the things, hit the button, hit the bell, hit the thumbs. It feels idiotic to say, but you have to say it. I have to say it. And I'm going to have to say it every single time. And I'm going to have to figure out a way to get some kind of regularity going with my content. That's the hardest part because, I don't know. I mean, because what that's going to mean is you're going to see me on days where I just fucking don't feel like it. And I'm going to be like cranky and irritable. Like, God damn it, YouTube's made me film this for you. And hopefully you'll find that engaging and interesting. One can hope. So anyhow, I've enjoyed talking at you. I am really trying to build community and a conversation. I don't want to just outflow all over the place. I honestly want you to respond and reply. That's why I'm keeping the comments open. I'm not even really moderating the comments. Please don't be a bot. I can tell. Because so far that's all the engagement I've gotten so far. Like, let's be friends. Um, so please be a real person. And much love to you all.